And that's what people don't realize. You're putting a lot on the line. It's not just, you're putting up money to go in and learn, and then you're going to, become a millionaire. So many wrestlers don't get the chance to make it. And then you're risking your health, your good looks, your well-being. There can be long-term ramifications from something that goes wrong in a wrestling ring. I guess that's why we all got to be safe. We got to trust each other. It's why, people like Chris and I are cut out for this. People like you should stay as far away from a wrestling ring as possible.
I mean, I took that one chop.
You did.
When we had him on the show the first time, I asked him to chop me on air. It wasn't as intense as what you went through, but let me tell you, it didn't feel good. But like I tell everyone on the picture, I took a picture of it. I could have opened his phone with the thumbprint on my chest.
Yeah.
So one chop and you were done. That was it.
One chop, and I was like, "Yep, okay, I got that done."
Maybe when we're done, we can send you the picture. He looked like a mix of, I don't know, like blood and tapioca pudding.
Oh my God. Yeah, everyone always asks me about this chop video, and I get it. It has a ton of views online. The idea was actually Shawn Spears' idea. He was like, if you're going to come to my wrestling school, cool. My idea was I'll take a few bumps, I'll lock it up. Maybe I'll take a few scoop slams or something like that. And he goes, what if I gave you a chop? And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Like that's not that interesting. Like one chop. I said, why don't you line up all your students and then have them all chop me? He goes, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, why not? It'd make for a great video. You only have 8 students. No problem. He goes, they haven't learned chops yet. I'm like, oh, all right, even better. Sure. Then I get into the ring and realize that they all get 2 chops, and then Breeze and Spears were going to give me a chop as well. So I'm like, 20 chops. Like, oh my, and it's like, it was too late at that point. And it made for a very memorable video. I had multiple handprints across my chest for the next 6 days. And yeah, I don't know if I would do it again.
Well, I think it's great that you stepped up to the plate and were willing to do that. I mean, that already puts you ahead of so many people out there on the independent scene that would shy away from even 1 or 2 chops. You took 20. And you might remember I made a comment on your Twitter where I said, now you've paid more dues than these guys out there. Maybe you might want to consider making it a full-time career.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think the biggest thing, and the biggest thing about getting into a pro wrestling ring is it hurts so much more than you would ever expect. Like, there are no springs under there. There's not a trampoline. It is not bouncy. Hitting the ropes for the first time is one of the most painful things you will ever do in your whole life. I don't know how you guys get used to this.
I think I'm the exception to the rule because I've been doing this for 15 years. By the grace of God, never had an injury, never broke a bone, never had a concussion.
I'll knock on wood for you.
Yeah, I'm really an anomaly when it comes to that. But I do firmly believe that from my early days in training, my body adapted to it because I was just like you when I think of my first months in wrestling, where there'd be weeks I'd go and I'd practice, and man, like I'd feel it for 2 weeks. I wouldn't be able to walk. I'd be, walking with a limp. I felt like I was like a 100-year-old man overnight. But I just think that the body kind of adapts to it. And that's why so many guys will say the more you're on the road, the more frequently you're working, the less you are prone to injury. It's not like you're getting weaker and weaker, you're getting stronger. And I've experienced it firsthand. I've done 30-day tours, literally Sunday to Sunday, no days off, 30 days, show every day, doing the stuff I do, moonsaults, dives, 450s, all that kind of stuff. And I came out of it unscathed. So I really think the body kind of develops a callus and it allows you to be able to perform at that level. It's, you build up that resistance as you go along.
Well, I think it's a little bit of that. It's also like your body's just like used to going that speed all the time. Like it's like when you're driving on the 401 going 130 kilometers an hour.
Which is quite a ticket, by the way.
It is quite a ticket. But you're driving along and you're like, yeah, I'm not going that fast. I'm keeping up with everybody else. And you look down, you're like, oh, wow, I'm way over the speed limit. And I feel like that's kind of what it's like. The more you do this, the more reps you get in, I think like you said, your body just kind of goes, yeah. That's it. That's all you got.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, maybe we'll be feeling it, 40, 50 years down the line when, we're all geriatric and need a walker and whatnot. But for now, I mean, I don't feel like wrestling has had that big of a wear and tear on me. And I do attribute a lot of that to the fact that I've had a pretty extensive schedule, never taken a break, tried to wrestle as much as possible. And obviously trained and got in shape for this because the more muscle mass you have, the more shock absorption you got too. So.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. I mean, every time I interview a wrestler who's like in their late 30s or 40s or 50s, I'm always like, what hurts on you the most? And it's always so interesting. Knees, back. I just interviewed Sabu and he was like, oh, my lower back's killing me. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it all has to catch up to you at some point.
Yeah.